And starting video transmission. Seems like we're good. Welcome to Gab Hominem, everybody. This week is going to be a nice one because I've got, well, for one, a very, very good artist that I've seen online before. And from what I've heard in their music, talented musician. Lhana is joining us this week. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I've
Um,
it's been fun watching you over the last, I want to say, year is when I first found you, because I can't remember if it was our mutual friend that shared some of your art, and I found you there, or it might have been some of the has-been art you did a while back. But I ended up just like, this is amazing stuff, and Lana can be pretty funny sometimes. I'm definitely giving her that follow.
Shucks. Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. I don't know if I'm a talented artist, but I really appreciate it.
That's
I'm glad you like it.
I hear that all the time with different artists. I was just dealing with that this morning, with another friend of mine who does art, and it's a constant thing of, oh, please, my art isn't that good. I'm not talented. I'm like, I want to commission you. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's for everybody. It's a thing like how do you call it? Like imposter syndrome at its best.
Oh, jeez.
Um, but to me, yeah, I mentioned this a lot of times actually. Like, I went to art school and I've always been this artsy fartsy, like very creative and very passionate about art and music and acting and everything that has to do with art and emotions. I think it's really fun. Everything that involves a tiny bit of creativity and like some drama like angst or happiness or whatever. I always love to play with that. And yeah, it's it's always been like that, but I've never really received much support. Um, and now that I actually have an account, an art account, um, and people say like, "Oh, your art is so great," I'm like, it's hard. It's difficult to take it in because for so long you haven't had much support, and then all of a sudden, like a bunch of support comes, and then y your mind just cannot really process it, I guess.
That's
So
fair.
I think that's normal with artists. Like we don't really get much support, or we are more like the outcast people usually in the class, or the little black sheep of the family who sees the world a little bit more colorful than just taxes and be a doctor or a teacher or anything else.
That's fair.
So
Yeah, it's. I guess it makes sense. I haven't taken a whole lot of time to draw art myself, but every time I look at it, I just go to like, I really could do a lot better with this, and then I want to try to take the time to, do better at it, but I find myself working too much to be able to dedicate the time to it. But then I, look at other people, and I see them doing all this amazing, art, looks so good. Shading is just done really well. The anatomy is also just like very accurate. And I look at him as like, how can you draw an arm like that and
yeah.
call yourself unable to do anything good? But it's just kind of like once you start to get to know them a little bit better, there's usually other things that are behind how they do their basically behind their process, and it's when you start to learn more about it, you start to understand. Oh, there's reasons for this.
Mhm.
Um,
Definitely.
yeah, so it's interesting meeting so many of these different artists online with all their own different unique styles, and then it's just like where they take those visions is just absolutely stunning to see where it goes. Like I've seen a friend of mine who is doing just her own fan comic off of another web comic,
Awesome.
sort of like her own little offshoot setting of it, and it's hilarious to see what they do with it. And then these other ideas they come up with, like a cottagecore character.
Okay.
When they've mostly been doing sci-fi up to that point, as far as I've been seeing. Um, Others are just like a goofy world where some ladies man just keeps striking out and being a dweeb. It's funny, and then we see you with all this like for the longest time, you've been drawing OC OC and CC fanship art. Basically,
Yeah,
your
that's basically my account in a nutshell.
yeah, because it's your Gator OC being
Yeah.
shipped with Valentino from Hasbin, and it's just so many people will just go, "Oh God, that's hot," looking at your character, or then they look at Val and they go, "Oh God, that's hot," and
Yeah, the ultimate hot couple.
and then it's once you start looking at more of your work outside of the Hasbin art, there's more visions to be seen because if I recall, you're working on your own little story on the side.
Yes, I do. And actually, it's still bizarre to me that I am going to actually do this. And I have no idea how I'm going to do it still because um, I never written like for it. I used to write novels and I used to have my own story years and years and years ago when I was like all this all the yaoi bullshit. Everybody has a fucking phase like that. Don't judge me. Either if it's an emo phase or you're a weeb or whatever.
Right.
So to me that was like I loved the emotion behind these male plus male pairing. So I had my own story for that, but I was always so impatient about I should I should build this up, and I was always like, oh, but I already want to go to the main point, like I already, and that was not the plus 18 stuff, but it was more like, what's the point of the entire story?
Right.
And so now, indeed, I am actually going to do this, and whether if it's going to be like straightforward, straight to the animation and pilot, or it's going to be a web comic, that's still in debate because, first of all, for both, I will need help. So I will definitely ask like make like yeah an announcement kind of that I will accept um people and their reels for job because either of the two I will still need help. Like I can't do that on my own. And there is no way I'm going to animate an entire pilot on my own.
No, I've talked with various animators on this show, and from every single time I've talked to an animator on this show, one thing has always come out loud and clear: animation takes a very long time.
Yeah, especially like so my characters, I don't know if well, you've seen some
Oh,
of my characters.
one
Oh,
second, one
somebody
second.
joined.
Infiltrate this gay chapade.
Ah, crap.
Hello,
Oh,
how are we?
What do you want, Mama Luigi?
oh, is that the one and only Mama Luigi?
No, it's not me. I'm just a figment of your imagination.
Oh, wow. Hello there. We're mutuals for the longest fucking time, and I never heard your voice. Hi there.
Super underwhelming, isn't it?
No, absolutely not. I'm very happy that you're here.
Well, I just came to say that this is a good stream, and it has been blessed with a alligator lass.
Oh, and it ain't Arlo. Oh my God. I saw the title. I was like, seriously?
Yeah, Ark was like, what should I name the stream? And then he came up with that, and I was like, yep, you should go with that.
Well, it's great. It has like 30% of cursed in it, and I like cursed, and I'm like, yes, that tastes good. Give me.
Why stop at 30%?
I
That's
didn't
fair.
say that it cannot increase. I just said that includes the base includes 30% of cursed, and I'm just like a fine wine taster, like, well, yeah, I taste the 30% of curse in it.
Dude, genius.
Oh my god.
Also, why did you warn her before I came in, you weirdo?
Because I didn't want to be rude.
Oh,
Be rude.
okay. You know what? If that makes you happy, I did not see the warning.
Yay!
So and completely, I completely straightforward ignored it. No, it's not true. I posted the announcement in my Discord server, and with all that stuff, I was busy and I avoided it. My apologies, but it's nice that you're here.
It's all good.
That's
I
totally
just
fair.
came here to cause some problems.
You little vampire fan.
Oh
Mission
god.
I
accomplished.
see I see your timeline.
Oh, look at the time. I gotta go.
I see your timeline.
I gotta go. No, but seriously, you guys have a good stream. I will
Hey,
leave you to it.
Okay. Have
alrighty.
a good
See
day.
you later.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Uh, Luigi's a treat. Um,
Yeah, I'm so happy I heard them finally.
it's fun. I'll have to talk with Luigi and see if see what can happen with getting it. I don't know if you all ever have time to be able to hang around with them, but they have their own server, and it's really fun to hang around with them and the other people there.
Okay.
But
Well, now I have fun at this beautiful podcast. So,
it's a fun one because I do like to talk with people to share their experiences about different things like animation, drawing art, voice acting, music, whatever the case of what they do. It's the whole point of this is to kind of learn from what they do. And with Mama Luigi, a lot of it was about art and managing a fan server for somebody because Mama Luigi is a mod for Ashley Nichols, right?
I know.
And some of the things that Luigi and the other mods, the Honey staff, have actually shared on there has been very enlightening because there's a lot of things that happen with fans that I don't usually see every day, and I'm kind of glad I don't. And part of that is thanks to them doing what they do. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, it's been very fun talking with them as well as many other people. And as we were talking about, before Luigi, so rudely interrupted. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. um, um, we were going with animation. We talked about how tedious of a job it is to animate something. Like if Luigi's project went from webcomic to animation, Luigi would need quite a few people to help her out with that.
Yeah, I think everybody. So but what I can also say in that regard is that I did I'm kind of a little bit sneaky on Twitter because just like how I usually say, like, once I drew this drawing of a queen, because somebody was oh, I just imagine Lhana popping out of the water because she's always watching. And I drew that. I drew Queen like in the water. You can only see her head and her eyes only and her snoot. And she's like, I'm always watching. So that's basically me on the interwebs. And I did follow some incredibly talented artists who happen to also work for Ashley and on other animation projects slash comics. So whether it's going to be once again a pilot or a comic, I will have some ideas for some people. Um, and also, like what I wanted to say, like I don't know how familiar you are with my characters. There is one character an original character I usually draw, and that's Sparrow. And Sparrow is that black creature with usually with the river. That's She is the main protagonist of my story, and Sparrow is this very curvy like creature. I'm gonna post a picture in the server about it. Um, so you can see what I mean about Sparrow. But yeah, basically that character, it's going to be a nightmare, and I already know that my animators are gonna fucking hate me. And I will take it all with pride, and I will say, I know you're suffering. Here, take my money. So he so I posted in Discord, but so basically this is this flame kind of fire kind of character. And to animate that, well, good luck. It's going to be a tough one, but it's extremely essential to the story.
Let me
So
add this.
you can maybe edit so other people can see it if they watch the stream.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up. Actually, I gotta reset that. Go and continue while I get Sparrow up on the stream.
Yeah. So, well, basically, he is an extremely important character. And um, so for that, I will need uh, some animators who can actually animate fire kind of things. Because his entire movement is really fiery like. So, oh, I do see something on the screen though. Yeah, that's my boy. Yeah, it's a boy. Sparrow is a male. But
Oh.
let me say like um there are going to be similar looking characters in this story, and some of them are actually non-binary. So that is, I think, something that people will like because there's not much not many non-binary characters, and these creatures they can be. So it's not always male or female. Sometimes it's unidentifiable, if that's a word.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So yeah, it's the best boy and also the worst. He's gonna confuse people.
Yeah, it's these seeing things like this is always very interesting because it's like again going back to seeing other people's like images, their visions about how things can be. Like you see a human character, so some basis in reality, but then you're seeing this weird creature that strikes me as something of a paralysis demon almost.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice to hear.
But
I
it's
like that.
but you know you can look at an image and you can infer a lot just by it. Usually, the whole saying of "don't judge a book by its cover" is something you want to stick to in reality. But when you're looking at art, I think the point of it is to specifically send a message with that image alone. I
Mhm.
mean, it's part of why I am not a fan of abstract art. Modern art nowadays, where it's basically kind of like a Rorschach test where you're supposed to look at a blob of ink and say, "What do you see in this?" No,
Yeah.
I want to see your vision. I want to see what's going through your head and what you want me to see, not give me something for me to interpret for myself. And when I'm looking
Yeah.
at this, I see somebody who's like dealing with some kind of trauma, mental or emotional, and maybe there's like a I don't know if this could be a hallucination they're dealing with or if it's an actual paranormal thing. Both are interesting. Just kind of depends on like what the angle actually is and what the message is that you're sending with it.
See, that's very I love that. I love that interpretation because just indeed like what you said, like just by looking at it, it's mostly like, well, if I'm gonna be a devil's advocate here, but you kind of can also like when you see a picture, it's not just about how the artist felt or what they deal with, but also in your interpretation, it also comes out what you're dealing with. And that's basically um, what my story is going to embrace. That so these I'm really always very careful with what I share
Right.
because I do believe in the fact that some stories, the best stories, are always like, how the fuck did I not think about that? Like it right? Like at least that's how I feel because I think it's brilliant when you can pick a concept which is based on some things we already have. It's not like um well, there's also obviously exception. For example, I really like the Blue Avatar movie, the Blue Creatures and stuff.
The one
That's
by
like a
James
whole
Cameron?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like it too.
I I I really like it. It got a lot of shit, but the um the message is basically like Princess Mononoke from Ghibli.
That
Um,
one I actually haven't seen,
oh
surprisingly.
my, oh my God, please do watch it because it's or Ghibli in English, but in
I've heard of
Japanese
both.
it's Ghibli. Um, so do watch it because it's amazing. Like I love the message. I'm a huge nature freak and I love it and I do believe in like we should not take more from Mother Earth than what we actually need because then otherwise we will get like bad back
Right.
about it. But basically, for example, take Has Been. Like it's a concept about people's souls going to hell, blah blah blah. They've done some sins. They did some deeds, and therefore they are um they are actually punished to go to hell. But what if we could actually make them get redeemed? And I find it a brilliant idea because it already works with heaven, hell, with the fact that someone is redeemable or not.
Right.
And that is, it's not a big stretch. That's what I'm trying to say. And my story is also going to be like, well, you kind of heard about these things and you kind of heard about these terms, but never actually, like, nobody actually came up with this kind of concept.
Right.
So in it's really in contact, in connection with the real world. And the spice comes from these creatures like Sparrow, who will visualize some things and very important things. And around, I can say that at least, that it's going to be about mostly these creatures. And it's also going to be about the protagonists who will learn more about what these creatures are. And I find it very important that I wanted something like this is definitely going to be like more an adult series. Um,
With tackling something like that, I would kind of expect it to be because I don't know if how many like children going through grade school would be fit for dealing with something like that so early in their lives.
no, absolutely. Like people can watch it who are like from a younger age, like for example, I don't know, teens,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to be older to understand mostly. And that I made that I was thinking about this because I really I find it a great idea to educate kids as soon as possible. But at the same time, I look at adult cartoons And if I can be a little bit vulgar,
Mm-hmm.
most of them look like shit. Like I'm sorry, but adults deserve I know the funny kind of graphics, like smiling. I fucking love the graphic. It's great. It's beautiful. Or I love Rick and Morty. I That's also a very unique art style. BoJack Horseman is more like it's kind of on the edge of a knife for me
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, okay, it's kind of digestible still for me, but if it was a teeny tiny bit like more into the abstract art style, I would find that too much. And I don't want to call anything ugly, so don't get me wrong, but I do believe, like I read that a lot of times also on Twitter, like why do can we like stop with the adult cartoons look like garbage? And I absolutely agree with that. I really do because I don't think that adult cartoon means that you have to put down the quality. And that's why I really want to put my absolute 150% into this because first of all, I like the designs, how they are right now. Um, I'm trying to make it as consistent as possible, and I think it's very pleasing to the eye. So if I made it more cartoony, I wouldn't like it.
Right.
This is going to be a serious series, if it's going to be a series, let's hope. Um, but this is going to be a serious series, and I think it deserves a serious art style too. So I really hope that it will be consistent enough for animators or comic artists to reproduce it,
Right.
um, and and copy it basically.
Well,
But
that's definitely a quality you want of animators, is to be able to emulate a particular style that somebody's doing. Like with how many animators were on like the Has Been pilot, for instance, or on any of the Hell of a Boss episodes. There's a long list of people who are on the animation team. Just basic animation and cleanup and everything. Uh, but each of them was basically capable of emulating Vivian's, style of art, and be able to replicate that across quite a lot of frames to make a whole animation. So you kind of do want that like consistency in there to make it look, uh, I guess, uniform or at least consistent. Because
yeah,
otherwise, it just gets
consistent
it
definitely.
just gets distracting once you notice all those little differences going on.
Otherwise, it's gonna look like the fucking. Do you know about that they remade that Sans remade Shrek, and it was like more than 200 artists
Really?
working together.
What the hell?
The entire Shrek movie, like from beginning till end, not just a scene, the entire movie is on YouTube and with collage and like very funny. You should watch it. I could only watch it till like 15 minutes and I felt like my brain cells like extinct, gone extinct.
Ooh.
So but it's great. It's great content. So yeah, it's definitely important that you make something consistent.
Especially
And
depending, especially depending on the type of audience you're supposed to be getting. Like I wouldn't want, um, it'd be interesting to see. Oh no, no. One example I can always go to is there's you probably know about bronies, right?
yeah, I heard about them.
Yeah, I've so there was a Facebook group that I was a part of that wasn't exactly a fan of bronies, and there was a point where we decided we were going to try to watch an episode or two of the show, and the animation was smooth, consistent, all that. It felt like flash animation to me, just rendered really well. But the problem with a lot of it was not so much the bright colors and the really high pitched voices and all that, but just how, I guess, was, I don't know about immature writing, but definitely not like the most complex type of writing that I've ever seen. It definitely feels like it was written for children. And my first thought is, how do they get into this and infer so much like really deep meaning out of this when it's clear it's just meant to entertain kids and give them some very basic life lessons? Whereas you look at
Mm-hmm.
things like Rick and Morty and you're seeing shit like, people having to deal with the episode of actually physically removing your most toxic traits from yourself.
Yep.
Looking at that episode was like, how the hell do we seem when we get rid of like traits, when we get rid of the negative traits like that? We just, I don't know if it'll really make us like on top of the world, that skilled and talented type of thing. One can infer a lot from just having more confidence in your own abilities and all that, but I don't know. I feel like it would make people more unbearable to be around, as just being so upbeat, bright about everything, where you just kind of like, it's kind of like,
Oh
for me,
no.
denying reality. The
Oh,
bad
that's
things
so
do
fake.
exist. And
Yeah,
so,
that's so fake.
and then you get to other things where you're dealing with actual relatable situations, like, I believe it was one of the season finales where Rick is basically listening to his family. Spoiler alerts, by the way, for anybody who hasn't seen it up to this point. Um, he's listening to his own family talking about him and everything he's been doing, and he's just like, all that guilt suddenly hits him in that moment. And you see how it plays out, and it's just like, I've seen people saying, dude, that episode of Rick and Morty got me fucked up. And I
Mhm.
look at it and I'm like, yeah, I can see why.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's definitely something you kind of want. Is like, for me, the animation is one thing where it can really consistent animation like My Little Pony can be nice to look at, whereas Rick and Morty felt very I don't know if there is a word for it. But it's like, it's very fast paced, sort of, because it's definitely a comedic, almost slapstick kind of show. But
Mhm.
it also just kind of, for me, it also depends on the style you're going for. Um, Other times it's just kind of, what's the goal? Is the style supposed to be something of, are you looking to have a lot of action in it, or is it much more like slow, intimate, and kind of like personal when you're having the characters interact? A lot of those things can have an effect on how it plays out when it airs or gets seen.
Mhm. Yeah. I do have some scenes in my mind about my story where I myself I'm like, "Oh my God, that's such a fucking strong and powerful scene."
Mhm.
Um to visualize these kind of feelings, just what you're talking about, I don't it's not my intention to fuck people up mentally,
Mhm.
but definitely to give them like a little, like, hey, like kind of a wake up call, you know, something that helps them visualize situations in their lives as well.
Yeah, a little food for
um
thought type of thing.
yeah, like when they're in a situation like that, next time they will see that scene
Right.
and they will be like, "Oh, wait a minute," and maybe adjust how they are.
Yeah.
Because I definitely do believe that it's not about. So here's the thing: you're not supposed to take things out of yourself. It's not about that. It's about dealing with them. And that's a very big difference. So like what you said, indeed, like life would be very fake and life would be very boring if we didn't have these little, like flaws, because that's what makes us human. But the art of having these flaws is dealing with them in the right way.
Right.
So you're not supposed to tear them out. And that's also something that's gonna come up in my story, by the way, because usually we're used to like a solution, right? Like we see a story and we're curious how it's going to fold out,
Mm-hmm.
and we're curious where it's going to go and bring us. And sometimes there are situations where there is no solution. And that's a very dangerous thing to add to a story. But if you add it right, it's not going to give the dissatisfaction for the viewer. It's going to make it more, um, yeah, how do you say it? Like intrigued. Like, okay, but if if there's no solution, then how are you still going to manage to make something out of it?
Right.
And that's a very important message of my story. I want to emphasize that, even though I'm really like, I feel like, I don't know if you watch Squid Games, but I feel like on that glass bridge, like I'm really trying not to break it and not to tell too much.
You know what's absolutely hilarious right now is, as we were talking about this, my phone just popped up with a notice from Apple News, and the headline says toxic positivity is very real and very annoying.
Oh yes, yes. Oh my God. Hell yeah. Thanks, universe, for the reassurance. Yeah, baby.
Oh my god, synchronicities like this, I think that's how it's pronounced, but those are just really fucking funny when it's popping up like, oh, what perfect timing.
Yeah, these are signs from the universe,
that
man.
that
These
was
are signs.
that was like Ed and Eddie level timing right there.
Mm. Oh man, that cartoon was great. I
That
loved it so
that
much.
show basically made my childhood with all the ridiculous slapstick going on and with how absurd
Really?
everybody acted
Yeah.
is just,
Yeah.
oh my god. In fact, you probably saw it from the other podcast that we were on. Did you see that somebody is making a fan made like sequel series?
A fan-made sequel series of what? Ed and Eddie?
Yep.
What? Are you kidding me? That's
Yes.
amazing.
It's just
Hi,
it's
everybody. Hey.
just called Peach Creek, because that's the name of the neighborhood. The whole show was set in. But it's definitely much more like aware of how old its original audience was and how old they are now. Because
Yeah.
like one of the first, like, I guess, test or pilot episodes they have starts with them in that van that was in the junkyard smoking out of a bong.
Really? Oh, I don't even remember. But dude, like I really hope that they won't like censor it and make the fucking jokes like less funny, and because we talked about this on Insanimator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like nowadays it's just um like the artists or creators of Smiling Friends are great example for that. They get so much shit for the humor they have and they are creating in. And I don't think like that's really, I don't like that. I don't like when yes, some things are censored, to
Mm-hmm.
a certain point. I mean, obviously, some jokes are like very extreme, and not everybody has the extreme jokes or humor. But when it comes to like you're not allowed to make a joke, I think that's a very risky or a very I don't really know that. God, today I forgot to speak, how to speak, but like I don't really like that kind of massive censorship. I really don't, because I do believe like if you can't express yourself in art, then where the fuck are you going to do that? People need art because they're gonna get insane. If you don't have a way to express yourself, you're gonna get insane.
Right. For me, it's a lot of like, there's a radio show in my area that I listen to every morning, and they accept emails from everybody. The guy that runs the show will select what episode or what emails to read because he's number one because of the way he runs it, and part of how he runs it is he only reads emails that from listeners that are actually he only reads the emails that are actually interesting. Uh, because he doesn't want people to get bored in that like 10 seconds and switch the radio station. And part of what he does is he also reads occasionally some emails from people who are just absolute monsters. They will email some of the most vile shit in regards to something that
Yeah.
was said on the show or in regards to somebody that's on the show. And
Yeah, that's
part of why
so
he does it.
nonsense.
Yeah, part of why he does it is because he wants to make sure people are aware that people like that exist. It gives us like that awareness that they are there and that we're at some point gonna have to deal with them.
Interesting.
Eh,
Very interesting. I watched or listened to one of the like one episode of the podcast of the Smiling Friends creators, and also for some people, even Mick is in it, the voice of the of Husk in the pilot. So it's a group of people, and they have a podcast all the time. And it was about a guest who also got like death threats and was sent to the police in Sweden
oh,
because he was drawing that they said it was like illegal, and he has to go to the psychologist, and if he ever wants to come back to the school he needs a psychological report that he's treated. And I
sorry for the interrupt. The internet died on our end, and we had to resume on a second link because YouTube doesn't have a resume on disconnect feature.
It's all right. It's all right, buddy. I'm sorry, I bring the cursed energy.
It's all right.
I can't help
I'm
it.
specifically tagging them because they're not gonna notice, and I just need something to make myself feel better. Let's see. Here's the new link. Please tell me I set it to embed. Allow embedding.
Right. So,
Uh,
um, we're live again, right?
yeah, we're live. I can't remember exactly where we ended on. Actually, I know where we can.
It was just about what huh? It says live ended 2 minutes ago.
Are you checking the link, the new link that I put in the chat?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
alright.
fine. It's all right. Okay. Yeah, we were just talking about or I was just talking about censorship in art, and that's a very um it's a very dangerous thing to do. Um, but like the hate that people give you for just the slightest trigger that they get from your art is insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I understand that some people deal with trauma and stuff like that, but if you don't embrace that, if you don't, we need material like that because I'm not saying like you need to see like a 5-year-old girl on the street murdered by a serial killer.
No.
That's not what we need. But like the brutality of humans, we can't hide away from it. Like we are just animals at the end of the day, and I think that's very important to understand. Like we're not perfect at all. We're not, and we're not going to make a perfect society. We're
Right.
never going to do that because we do have one part of our brain is still like a lizard brain, fight, flight, or freeze, and it's always going to be.
Well, and part of it is we have to kind of deal with the reality around us if we want things to actually get better, because just leaving it alone, it's just going to allow that bad thing to continue getting worse.
Yeah, it's you can't hide away from what it is. There are some seriously messed up things happening in the world, but like just because you draw like serial killers doesn't mean that you're a serial killer.
No.
That's what I'm trying to say. And obviously, I'm not talking about extremes, like don't draw Nazi stuff and stuff like that. But there is like an exception also for that when it's educational. Like for example, um one of the comics, which is like very, very famous, and it won a lot of awards, that's called Mouse. And that's basically about cats, like in an anthro world, cats, mice, and basically it tells the Second World War things, but with those characters. So there is like a very fine line when it comes to drawing these extremes. When it's educational and when you're trying to make a point, I don't think that you should report everything that triggers you. It's not healthy. You can't live in a bubble and like avoid everything that triggers you. You need to learn how to deal with things. That's basically what I said when the internet died.
Yeah, we can't. How do I put it? Letting those things continue to just go and not it. Just getting rid of them is not making the problem better because those things will always come back in some form or another. People like that always exist, whether it's because that's how they were raised or it's just kind of like their experiences made them so jaded they don't see any other way to react to something. And so when we see something like, I don't know, somebody being a jerk, we don't know exactly what had happened to them that made them that way to begin with. And then we see how we react to it and we think we're automatically better, but some of the times we don't understand that it's something like, oh, they're acting in front of a camera that we can't see because it's behind that wall. Or it could be something like they're working something out in the way those two who intimately know each other very well know how to do. What's it, once it starts getting to the point of like, I don't know, a verbal argument actually getting into physical contact, yeah, probably intervene there because you don't want somebody to be sent to the fucking hospital. But when it's something like, I don't know, I think what's one way to do it? People like if I were to say I'm gonna ship, my Has-Been character with Charlie from Has-Been, right? That's not me saying I prefer demons who are the children of Lucifer, who is known for being a very bad person.
It's the same like right like I just saw this on Twitter. That there are some people who got like shit from people by liking Val, and I was like, oh my God, the same shit all over again a year later, and I was just like, welcome to the club, fam. Just let it go and it will pass. That's literally what I commented because I was like, just just don't care about this bullshit.
That's that's kind of one of the fun things about it is shipping is not meant to stick to what's canon. It's shipping.
Liking a fucked up character does not mean that you're fucked up. And that's what people need to understand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Ed and Eddie, and the one of the three main characters, Eddie, is a greedy, egotistical, and um, I would say borderline psychopathic character. But that doesn't mean he doesn't care about his friends. He's just an idiot. So if I were to say that I like Ed and Eddie and people tell me that I'm an asshole for it, I go, you're kind of missing the point. The whole show is not meant to be some like morally upright, super important learning lesson for it. It's meant to just be stupid fun. It's slapstick. It's the same reason we watch Tom and Jerry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so yeah, it's dumb. People are trying like people I do believe like people don't even know what they like because there's just so much like hypocrisy and like double standards. And that comes purely because people cannot make like the thing like, okay, that is funny, period. No, they put it into like terms, like it's only funny if, like, for example, smiling friends and its jokes are fucking fucked up. They are. Some of the hell of a boss jokes, they are fucked up. But
Hmm.
they like, but because they like the artist, or the creator, they're gonna be like, oh, haha, that's funny. If somebody else does it, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Fuck you, die. I hope. And they like wish all the worst things to them, and I'm like, you're pretty hypocrite here because they made the exact same joke. So I think it's really comes to who likes who, and when their favorites do something that's funny, but when somebody else does it, then it's immediately not funny, and that's just dumb.
Right. So sometimes it's like I believe people were raised nowadays to not deal with confrontation, and it's kind of depressing because I want to be able to actually work out a problem and have the best outcome for everyone involved. Whereas if
Mm.
we were to just get rid of somebody, we're suddenly making, like, if it was something at work, we're suddenly making the job a lot harder for everybody else that relied on that person that was there doing whatever job they were doing. And so it's part of, like, if somebody at my job were to just suddenly quit and he was, up the line providing the materials for me to work with, I would suddenly find myself going, what is there for me to do? And it's, for me, I can't do my job because he left and got rid of his, his talent. He got rid of his skill doing what he needed to do for the rest of us to do our thing. Now, if everybody else got rid of him, sure, they're making themselves a little more comfortable about it, but then somebody's going to have to step up and fill in his position until we can get somebody else that's more qualified or get somebody else trained on whatever that position was. Sure, you kind of made the personal comfort levels a little better for yourself. Uh,
Yeah, but the thing is still there.
yeah, the problem didn't necessarily go away. You just shifted that problem off to somebody else at a different workstation rather than sitting them down and telling them this needs to stop. That way, the problem is not going somewhere else, and the problem is stopping there with you. I mean, it's the whole point of having something like sensitivity training, right? We're supposed to be teaching them this is not cool. You're not supposed to do this. Knock it off.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my main issue with the whole like cancel culture thing of like some people do deserve it, right? People like Weinstein definitely needed to be taken off of his position for a while so he can stop being a menace to people. And I'm hoping he's off getting like some kind of, I don't know, sensitivity training, or no, actually I think he's in jail now. Um,
So, um, yeah, about, oh man, we're really going there. I thought
we,
it was about arts and music. I saw the description, and now what we're talking about again is cancel culture. I really don't want to go much into it though, but I'm not a fan of it.
no,
Period.
some
Um,
people just some things do actually warrant having action taken, but if it's something of just saying you like a toxic character, that's not grounds for getting rid of somebody. They're just making
so
ship art.
public hatred was never a thing I liked and never a thing I approved of. To me, I'm not going to say like oh, they don't deserve to be punished. I believe that even the worst people on earth, they need something else, a different kind of punishment than public shaming. Public shaming is extremely damaging, and someone who has suffered from that from a very young age, because I was bullied my entire life,
Mm.
I do not approve on any level of cancel culture. If there's someone, uh, if there's a criminal or someone who does very fucked up things, I believe that either jail or any other kind of punishment is much better than destroying them mentally or destroying them emotionally. Because, first of all, if I start destroying someone emotionally, am I different than that person? I'm not.
Right.
I'm just as a monster as that person. It's We have to learn that eye to an eye for an eye in the term of cancel culture will not solve anything, because if that is misused, which happens in our time and age right now, that anybody who makes the slightest mistake, or that it seems to you like it's a mistake what they're making, and they get canceled, their reputation, their life, everything is going to be damaged and destroyed within 5 minutes.
Well,
And that is to me just not acceptable, because first of all, we make mistakes. Why does that happen, that people who are in jail and they regret what they've done, they can get out earlier by showing good behavior? Not everybody is a psychopath, and people forget that. People, and that's also what husband is about. You are redeemable because you can learn from your mistakes and you can show that you're better. And I believe that I believe in that 100%.
Yeah,
And
it's one of those things people can easily forget, that reform is definitely a thing, not just on like an institutional level of like an organization. Like we've seen that a lot here in America, right? But people can forget that reform can be a personal thing as well. I have experienced this myself. I've done really fucked up things in my past when I was a teenager. And after dealing with the consequences and people actually taking the time to teach me, what you did was fucked up. You need to see why it is and why you shouldn't be doing it anymore. And to this day, I keep to that because I learned from it. And I don't want to see those consequences come back to me again, for one. But I also don't want to see the consequences, actually play out to the damaging degree that I have seen it happen to people. I know what it does because
yeah,
I've had to personally experience it myself for the lesson to sink in. And
yeah,
for me, that's kind of like the most important thing about it, is actually, as the point of the show is, learning from other people's mistakes and experiences.
yeah. And that's why I do not approve of cancel culture at all, because it does not give the benefit of doubt to people in order to improve and develop. Cancel culture is about, this person did something. Let's Basically, it's about how is it called? Oh God, I wanted to say it really fast, but basically, you're trying to stop someone from showing, like, yeah, like you're sabotaging them. That's what cancel culture is about. This person did something. Maybe that thing is a minor thing, or maybe that thing is a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna sabotage them so that they cannot get, for example, my support. I'm not going to buy their products, or I'm not going to buy their CDs or whatever. That would be okay. But what cancel culture does, it goes further with some extra steps, which make it, the entire thing, fucked up. Because what they also do is sending death threats,
Mm-hmm.
spreading rumors, spreading things, and I know, because I sadly experienced a part of it when rumors were made, which was so untrue. But obviously people are going to believe, like, if there's a very, like, a loud group, and they go to someone, you're going to believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, that's how majority of people work. And I'm very happy that a lot of people are like, no, I'm giving this person the benefit of doubt. I want to talk to them. I want to get to know them. and I will make my own opinion instead of what I hear. So that's why I don't approve of cancel culture at all, because just stopping supporting someone, that's fine. That's your right as a human to do. But sabotaging them and going out your way to destroy their lives, that to me is equal to the crime you think they have done.
For me, it's the same thing as denying somebody their humanity, right? It's
Yeah,
basically saying you can't make a mistake.
no, you can't. And it's so messed up, man.
Yeah.
It's so messed up because since you're a human, you're making mistakes, right? When I'm pretty sure you hurt your friends. Everybody hurt their friends, right? It's not like you're gonna make a tiny mistake and they're gonna say like you are the worst person and you don't deserve any friends. But some people are fucked up enough by their own baggage. Let's not go into that because it's a whole psychological thing. Um, but what happens is that they tell you like you're a piece of shit by just making that one minor mistake. That does not mean that you don't deserve any friends for the rest of your life. And that's what cancel culture does. It's so messed up. And I really don't want to make my podcast about that or my part of the podcast. But it makes me sad. Like things like that, especially like Twitter has taught me like if somebody comes with bullshit, don't go into it.
Yeah.
Like it don't even start because that's what they want, you know? They want to destroy you. That they want nothing else but to see you suffer. And that's what makes to me makes them a bigger monster than the people who actually do anything.
Right. We figure out our own ways to deal with situations, and nowadays we're finding much easier ways to actually be able to deal with that. Most of the time when I'm stressed, not feeling all that great, I'll just jump into another server where I know there's people who are regularly active in voice chat, and I will go in there and I'll bullshit with them for something. Like lately, last couple of weeks, I've been playing Monster Prom with a few friends in another server. It's getting a little repetitive at this point because we play through just about every possible path, but it's still fun to just voice act to all these ridiculously absurd events that are happening in the game, and then just how stupid the results are. And it's just entertaining. It's a laugh that everybody shares in, and we're all having a good time. Suddenly you realize, oh, the stress is all gone. Holy crap.
Yeah, what helped me whenever Twitter is on fire, and let me tell you, dear viewers, if you don't use much Twitter, or even if you do, there are some times when Twitter is more on fire than the fucking Australian forest. Yes, I made that joke. And you gotta leave. Like the moment it starts burning, and you kind of like you're kind of the meme, with the dog,
Right.
sitting at the table and
Right.
says, "This is fine." um, whenever Twitter goes to that point, then you gotta leave.
Right.
So to me, what happened is when shit started again, and also with the hate about all the Valve supporters, blah blah blah. I just left, and I was like for 3-4 days I wasn't online. I was like, I don't need this shit. I really don't.
You see, this is kind of why I named this episode "This Ain't Arlo," because Arlo is a little musical alligator boy who goes around and
I'm a musical alligator girl.
Yeah, he deals with a lot of like really, like he's got a specific goal. He's finding someone that he has a personal connection to, and he finds a lot of like really good support along the way. That's like very like there's a lot of variety in the supporting cast for that to help him out with his goal. But when you continue watching it, it's very like it borders that toxic positivity that we talked about earlier. But the only reason I say it doesn't quite reach it is because they actually do deal with some heavy moments in there, which are for me kind of important in many cases around the world nowadays with how long families can last. But I say This Ain't Arlo because we're not talking about, finding a particular family member. We're talking about like real world situations of that. Not that finding your father ain't a real world thing, but we're not talking about some young boy who's singing his way along the world to find, to reach his goal. We're talking about people to people situations in which things need to be dealt with, or some people are just like they're a little too high strung on things that don't actually have that much of an impact on their
Right.
lives, the people they're going after, or anybody that's listening. It's We're talking about an online artist here who happens to do music, but just kind of like goes on about their day, and it's like, what's your end goal here with trying to cancel this artist? It's because there's something a little counterintuitive here with trying to accomplish that.
It's yeah. So here's the thing, like, and I think for after that we can also, I don't know if you have any other questions for me as an interviewer. I gladly answer. But I think, like, so here's the thing, like whenever hate comes, I'm pretty afraid, or I was pretty afraid, because there were days, and my friends know, when I was like, oh my God, these people are gonna ruin my reputation and ruin my career, and I'm never gonna be able to grow out of, like grow and improve and stuff. Like, I still have those days sometimes. I'm still scared at a certain level that the bad ill will of people is not going to help me grow. But at the same time, like I do get opportunities. Like, for example, I'm extremely ecstatic about being the opening and ending singer of an upcoming pilot.
Hmm.
Um, I was hired to do that, and I'm extremely proud and I'm extremely happy that I can do that. And there are other things, like very very talented friends, and they also say like, I do want you on my project and stuff like that. So there are opportunities. It's just I'm we all have our low moments, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, how to deal with that, I don't actually know. Just try to, because that's something, like also YouTubers say when they get asked about a hate, because they do get a lot of hate, like a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Twitch streamers, they get a lot of hate, and when they get asked like, how do you deal with these things, they just say like, you don't, you learn to you learn to just deal with it.
Yeah, there was
You
one
just
there was a voice actor I talked with here. If you know who Rivali is from one of the Zelda games, I think, um, or I can't remember all the characters he voiced, but Sean Chiplock was on here a while back, and I had asked him how he deals with like all the trolls and all that, and basically his response in a very short, it was very like brief about it, but he basically said, you figure out how to sort out all the trolls from people who are actually trying to help you, and the easiest way to tell is if they don't have any actual constructive feedback to give you, like an idea of what you can do better about something, or what they actually found to be a little distracting or um, like off-putting about something. If they're not specifically pointing out a flaw in something you did, or offering ways to do something better, then that's not constructive feedback or constructive criticism. That's just them being a troll. If they're just saying, "Oh, you suck at this," okay, troll, block, bye.
Is my
That's
microphone, by the way, better?
Yeah. You switch your microphone to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I'm
sounds
much.
it sounds it doesn't sound compressed anymore. Which is really
Awesome.
good.
Great. I'm so sorry.
It's
And
all
my
right.
bad my other microphone, my headset microphone was on, but yeah, yeah, it's basically that. And I'm too, like, somebody starts bullshitting, I just use the block button. I used to hate using the block button, man. I'm such a fucking pacifist. I like people think like I'm a monster and stuff like that. Dude, all that sass and all you see, that's just like that's part of my image. But honestly, I hate conflicts. I'm not the kind of, like oh my gosh, I just came out of the fucking Starbucks. I don't fucking know. You want to fucking fight, bitch? Like, I'm not that kind of person who comes to you with like a fucking 5 inch of nails, fake nails, and like scoops your eyeballs out of the socket. Like, I'm not that kind of a person. I hate conflict. And that's why I get stressed. Whenever there's like a conflict, I want to solve it. I don't want to hurt anybody, nor I want to be in beef with anybody. I don't like conflict. And whenever people like visualize me as like a monster, I'm like, dude, I'm probably like the most peaceful reptile you can ever meet.
It's like
I
even your name of Swamp Monster in your Patreon is basically just a play on words of your main OC being an alligator.
Yeah, it
It's
is. I literally just use it because it sounds so cool.
It also
It's not like I'm actually aggressive.
no, it's like it's that kind of like ironic funny that's in there. You know what a swamp monster is. You know what an alligator is. It's just okay. That's kind of funny. It's fun. It's it's kind of like you have that sense of humor and you're having fun acknowledging what the main character you draw probably most often. Whereas opposed to actually dealing with you in person, it's kind of like, oh, now I get their humor. They are like ironic to some extent about a few of the things they do, and they're just really fun to talk with.
Aw, thanks. It's really fun to talk to you too. Yeah, I'm very sarcastic. I'm a very sarcastic / ironic person.
There's nothing wrong with sarcasm, in my opinion. From like I
Oh
said,
man, it's great.
having a sense of humor is a very important thing for me because I like dealing with people who can have a good time and basically take those bad times and laugh in its face.
It's great.
There's
It's
a-
great. Like
There's a
when
magic to
like
not
when
having
Luigi
that stress.
when Luigi came to the Discord call, I was like full on sarcastic. But it's like also to the fucking technical difficulties. It's just very funny to me. It's self-ironic because every time I have a stream, it dies. The internet dies. I never have a problem, but whenever I want to stream, it was last time during summer, I think. I never have internet problems, okay? But that 1 hour I'm trying to fucking stream, the internet goes away twice. And I'm like,
Shit.
that is, fucking hashtag Lhana things. It's just perfect.
Okay. Ashley Nichols, for the longest time, was dealing with exactly that with her home internet because every time she was trying to do a Twitch stream, internet would die like 30, 45 minutes in. And the whole house was dealing with that for like a month, probably 2. And it finally got fixed just last month.
But
And I'm
it's
like,
so
what the
fucking,
hell?
it's so funny.
It
It's really
is.
it's really funny. Like now too, like you have a podcast and it all of a sudden just whoosh goes away. But yeah, if you have any, oh, by the way, sorry. Hi, Ryan Song. I hope I pronounced, or Rain Song. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Hello.
I'm sure it's
Waving
Rainsong.
back.
But that's
yeah.
me and my limited understanding of languages.
It sounds pretty Korean, like Ran Song.
It sounds
But
like it to me. But yeah, this was definitely a fun discussion to have, and as I pointed out earlier, a very good learning experience to learn from other people's perspectives and experiences because it's kind of important to know about things that happen and how, like, maybe your solution to dealing with it isn't the way for everybody to deal with a situation, because circumstances are always different, whether it's the event itself or the people involved can always be different. But knowing one way to deal with it at least is something they can try and see if it works for them. But if not, it can give them a reason to actually try to find ways to deal with problems, especially with other people, because that's kind of going to be an important skill to deal with, because you're not going to avoid that wherever you go.
No, absolutely.
So
It's and whenever, like something has been dealt with, and somebody is still trying to tear things up and just bring old things up to you, just 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 block them. Just don't go into them, because they're definitely just trying to like eat you up, like and energy wise. Also, if you have like any other questions for me about music or art, whatever, just feel free to ask me. You should use The Internet Goes Out Twice as a YouTube or podcast time. Yeah, that is amazing. I really should. That is a great idea. Thank you. I really should do that.
I probably should. Oh,
You should
man.
you should retitle this like The Internet Goes Out Twice. It's
Maybe I should try to rename it to being something like, I don't know, this ain't Arlo's internet. I don't know.
that or a pacifist reptile, or I don't, or how, oh my god, what's the name, like fucking the pacifist apex predator. That would be great.
Oh my god. That's going to be a funny one to try to work with on that.
Yeah.
Let me see. Is there anything that I should ask? I guess in regards to all that, we talked about the art and dealing with people. You've been doing music for a bit. I think I remember you even once said you have like an actual degree in metal.
Yes, that's correct.
That's something I never thought would be a thing until you mentioned it. And it's funny, but how long have you been doing music?
So, very little amount of people know. And I guess that's also for the better, because people, like people and their hatred and whatever revenge, whatever.
Right.
But I'm actually I've been busy with music ever since I was 4 or 5. I have more than 20 years of experience in that regard. And I also played the violin for 12 years, and so my musical knowledge is quite big. And I also have my own band. I'm also working on my solo project. So I'm quite active for a long while, and being, I guess, the newest thing I've been experimenting with, and it's a new thing to me and a new challenge, is being a voice actor. I started with that when COVID started, and purely because I was like, why shouldn't I do it? Like, it really sounds fun. And I started doing it, and they had something on Casting Call Club called AVAT, and that's short for Amateur Voice Acting Tournament. And I have done a villain for that, a female villain. That's a very ironic story, because I was like, I tried it. I was like, I give it a go. I won, and so that was my first try for voice acting, and I won. And I was looking at the results, like at the fucking account of AVAT for days, like religiously checking it every single day, whether there are, like the results are announced. And after like 4 days, I gave up. And I didn't look at it anymore. And a month later, I went back and they were like, congratulations, you won. React to us within 24 hours or we're going to give your place to someone else. And I didn't see that. And so somebody else got the second place got my award.
Shit.
But it was a very funny experience. Like that was the first thing I tried and I won. And I was like, "Oh, I guess I can do this." So then I don't even know after that what happened, just talking here and there within the fandom. And then Axel came along and he asked me whether I would like to voice Molly. And I was like, sure. I don't think my voice fits her, but okay. And he absolutely loved it, and people loved it, and I still until this day I'm participating in the Arachnus series for a year now or something, and I'm still baffled because I really don't think that my voice fits Molly, but people love it, and which I'm very grateful for. So yeah, I guess that's a new thing. But I'm a musician for a long time.
What we talked earlier about how people will look at their own art and go, "Ah, this looks like crap." Same thing happens with musicians. Like myself, I've tried,
Oh, absolutely.
I've tried doing singing before, and I think, wow, my voice sounds very stale, very monotone. How do you think people can actually like do better in that regard? Because it's not, for me, music might be a little easier to adjust to and like improve your skills at than art, because art you have so much to learn, like anatomy, shading, composition, and all that. Whereas with singing, you want to try to like get your ability to emote and project to be like right where it needs to be for your voice, as well as understanding your voice enough to know what that voice works with in terms of genre and like style and all that. So, what do you think is like one way for people to understand and work on their ability to sing or voice act or whatever the case?
So that's a very funny question, actually, because I'm also a vocal coach.
I did not know
So
this.
that is my job basically to point that out for people what they can improve and how. So basically, when we talk about singing, it's like a big ass fog, right,
Right.
to most of the people, because they think like, oh, okay, so drawing you can learn, but singing, hell no. And I'm like, no, it's honey, it's the exact same. Like singing, you can learn. It's not just, obviously there are people who have absolute hearing when you can hear when something is not right or it's false or it's, like it's not on point. But that's just some extra steps. Truly, what's the reality is that you can learn how to sing. So basically when you sing and it sounds false, quote unquote, that's just simply your muscles not being able to make those micro movements what somebody who already has the quote unquote talent can already do. So you can train that. Those muscles are the exact same, just like in your arm or in your leg. That's the funny part of it, anatomically. They are the exact same muscles. So you can actually train them. So going to a coaching session or whatsoever is literally, and I'm not kidding, it's like going to a voice gym. It's literally just training your muscles for those micro movements. And after a couple of months or weeks of practice doing the same movements, which we call vocal exercises, you will be able to do those movements. It's that easy or that simple. Um, so your question was like, what my advice would be? Definitely, if you can go to a coaching session, um, what for me is also very important is that you definitely have to do warm-ups, because just like going to a gym or going to run a marathon, you don't want to run a fucking I don't know, 50 miles marathon without warming up, right? Because you're gonna collapse. You're gonna be your body is gonna be like, fuck this shit, I'm out, and they're
it's
just
gonna
gonna
hurt.
collapse,
It'll hurt.
and it's gonna hurt a lot. It's the same with singing and voice acting. A lot of voice actors do not warm up, and a lot of singers do not warm up. And that's a big mistake, because you're asking so extreme movements from your muscles, your deep muscles in your throat. It's not really nice, not really kind towards your body. So definitely do warm-ups. And yeah, it's just, if you want if you want to improve, then just start step by step. Don't immediately expect from yourself that you're gonna sing like Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
That's my advice, actually. Just experiment with things. Don't be afraid of trying. Don't be afraid to open your mouth. That's also what I tell people when they ask me for tips. Like, don't be afraid of making noise, because some things, like when you're belting or when you sing opera or whatever, you have to be on a certain level of volume in order to make those notes or reach those notes. So don't be afraid of doing that. Don't be afraid of being loud. That's very important.
It's also important for voice acting. Sometimes you gotta scream and look a little silly to get a line that's kind of needed for the project. So
Yeah,
sometimes it's a matter of just
absolutely.
kind of adjusting to it. But yeah, with that, you definitely want to do the warm-ups, because I do my fucking vocal warm-ups on the way home from work every day
That's
in the
good.
car.
That's very good. That's
It's
very good.
yeah.
What do you do?
There's a YouTube channel called Jacob's Vocal Academy, and he's got a
Mm-hmm.
shitload of different videos for all kinds of different warm-ups. And I usually just do the I usually
Lip
do
trill?
the what?
The lip trill? It's like the simplest vocal
Yeah,
warm-up ever.
it includes the lip rolls. I usually start with these warm up exercises that a guy named Eric Arsenault has actually done videos for. I usually do some of those, the basic ones that he does, and then I move on to Jacob's Vocal Academy to start going on with the scaling practice that he has on his videos. I usually go with the 10-minute video that he has, because I've already spent 5 to 10 minutes with Eric's.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely very helpful, as I have noticed doing trying to do singing, at least in the car, after doing those vocal warm-ups, as opposed to not doing them. And my voice feels like it can actually last after I do the warm-ups, as opposed to not doing them. So
Yeah,
it
of
is very
course, because
important.
they literally are warmed up. Like
Yeah.
that's the more the muscles are warmed up, the more flexible they are. That's literally why it's called a warm up.
It also kind of helps with figuring out how to um, comfortably look a little silly doing it, because a lot of it involves like turning your head while doing the lip rolls, and it's, people are looking at you in the car, but they're not gonna see you anymore after that. So it kind of helps with like adjusting to looking a little silly, but it's fine.
Absolutely, my band is like every time we have a gig or rehearsal, every time I do the lip rolls, like, and they all laugh, like, because to them it's so weird, but I'm so used to this kind of reaction that I don't give a shit anymore. Like usually also when I have to like practice distortion or warm up for distortion and stuff like that. Well, that includes a lot of yelling.
Right.
And for that, I usually just ask the staff when we have a gig, like, do you have like another like room, a separate area where I can make these sounds? And whenever someone like last time, it was really funny. Somebody came in for the backstage. It was completely empty, and I was just there trying to warm up, and I did like, hey, hey, like these kind of sounds, and then somebody came in, and they just looked at me like, what the fuck?
uh,
It's great. Like, yeah, like dare to be crazy, because if you have like inner doubts, or oh yeah, I don't want to be loud because of the neighbors, your voice is going to feel that, okay? So the leading message is going to come from your brain, like, oh, we gotta be silent because of XYZ.
right.
And then your muscles are going to tense up, and you're not going to be able to reach those high notes. But whenever you're like, I don't give a rat's ass, anybody can come to me, I'm going to tell them like, hey, sorry, but I need to practice. Like when I moved here, I told all my neighbors like, hey, I knocked on their door, every single one of them, and I told them, hey, I'm a singer. I need to practice between this and this hour. Okay, great, bye. Nobody gave a shit about it. Like, nobody had a problem with it. And last time, I lived here for almost 3 years, and last time one of the neighbors were like complaining to one of my friends, who also is one of my neighbors, and they told the neighbor like, um she already said that when she moved here, so you gotta shut the fuck up. So it was already communicated. I am sorry, but if you complain about it, like, it's not like I'm going to stop. I announced it. Nobody had a problem with it. 2 years later, somebody has a problem with it. I mean, I'm not gonna stop.
I mean, they could have also just told you, hey, I kind of need some silence for this reason at this time.
Oh yeah, definitely. But this neighbor has like a fucking boombox, and they turn it on at like 10 p.m. Like those kind of neighbors who complain when you make sound, but when they like fucking let it all out loud on their fucking boombox, you have to handle that shit. So it's not even worth the thinking. It's
Right.
not even worth about the thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're getting to the end point of this show, but this was actually a really fun discussion to have with you, Lhana. I appreciate you taking the time to show up here and have talk. What the hell is going on with me today? But yeah, I appreciate you showing up to the show and having this discussion with me today.
Yeah, thanks so much. I didn't expect it to go a little bit dark, so I'm sorry about it. I didn't want to.
It's kind of an inevitability at some point, especially with a show like this, with learning from other people's experiences, that sometimes things are gonna be talked about that aren't always like the most comfortable for people. But as we discussed earlier, it's kind of important to learn from those things. So I'm not opposed to it, and I do hope that if people did have to deal with a little bit of discomfort around that discussion, they at least learned something a little bit from it and was worth listening to it.
Well, yeah, I'm very happy that that I got this opportunity, and thank you so much for inviting me. If you guys get any other question to me, just feel free to comment under the tweet, which we shared, Arc, and I also shared it twice. So if you got any questions for me, please ask, and yeah, just don't be afraid of being you, and don't be afraid of creating, because I know how that feels, and but there are people out there, and I do have to thank you also, Arc. Like, you're also very supportive, and I very appreciate your support so far, for my content and for the personality I have. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It is no problem at all. It's very fun talking to you, and it's very fun watching what you do and all that. So thank you for joining me today. The only last comment we'd have to end this on is from Softless Channel. It says, if we could ask Molly the same, I feel like she'd be feeling she isn't fit to be voiced by you two.
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here.
I'll work on editing this this two-parter into the same video because of the internet situation. So keep an eye on that. You guys will have it shared around for everybody to listen if they missed it today. But otherwise, thank you, Lhana, for joining. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to listen. We will see you on a couple weeks for the next guest once we have that announcement made. Everybody, please all have a wonderful weekend, all right?